Security Awareness 2017, Lansing, Michigan offices only. In order to maintain Liquidweb's PCI compliance rating, we need to make sure that certain security criteria are met on an annual basis. First and foremost, we need to confirm who is responsible for data security, and the short answer is you. Everyone in the company has a basic responsibility to maintain data security and integrity, not only for our customers, but also for ourselves and us as an employer. This comes down primarily to who we host. Banks, with sensitive financial data, healthcare organizations such as HIPAA compliant and those sorts of needs, and governmental data all require very specific handling. If someone were to get a hold of these accounts and to get a hold of information on these sites and these customer accounts, there's definitely an impact for that unauthorized access. It could be damage to the customer's reputation, damage to our reputation. Of course, that can also lead to the loss of customers, or in some cases, some pretty extravagant fines. If you think that you have discovered an issue, who do you report it to? There are several options, but the short answer is generally going to be the best answer, and in this case, take it to your supervisor. Bare minimum cardholder data safety. Now, as this is something digital, this is going to fall under your workstation policies, which generally means don't store sensitive information on your workstation. If a customer gives you a credit card number over the phone, don't do anything with it. Don't save it. In fact, ask them to go through manage.liquidweb.com and put it there. Don't copy it from servers. If you find a text file that has somebody's credit card data in there, don't touch it. Do not store passwords in plain text. This falls under cardholder data as well. The physical rules, don't leave it out in the open. Someone gives you a credit card number, don't write it on a sticky note and put it on the side of your monitor. Properly dispose of it when you are done. Now, this may sound a little contradictory to the previous don't leave it out in the open clause, but sometimes a customer may have a legitimate need to give you a credit card number over the phone. And should that happen, process it as needed by the customer as that transaction requires, and then shred it. This is not something you want to throw away, fold into a paper airplane, or just leave it out on your desk. Make sure that it goes through the shredder. Physical security. Our physical security is a major concern for us. To help allay some of those fears, we do have man traps in our buildings here in the Lansing offices. Now, a man trap, as you can see in the image below, requires 2 badge swipes to pass through. You do not need a swipe to exit. This is so that we can maintain fire code compliance. However, what we need our employees to be very aware of is that they should only have one door open at a time and be very aware of who is entering with you. It's sometimes very tempting to be polite and hold the door for someone, but please make sure that they are using their badge on the second door. We have to be very aware of tag-alongs or former employees. As our company continues to grow in size, the chance of a former employee trying to regain access to the building improperly is an unfortunate, it's a risk that we have to be very aware of. Visitors and guests. Employees may have visitors in the Lansing offices. We have a lot of interesting things here, from our break room in DC2 to the arcade machine and the training rooms where we occasionally hold social events in DC3. It's also important to note that sometimes customers may wish to visit. This is a little less common, but it does sometimes happen. If we have a customer from outside of the Lansing area, they may wish to come by and view the data center and maybe take a tour while they're here. This also can sometimes be our colo customers, our co-location, where they are paying us for network access, but not necessarily for the full service contract that many of our customers come to us for. And sometimes we even do full-on tours, perhaps for local government organizations, or say for Lansing Community College, Michigan State University, and so on. We may also have contractors working on site. Not everyone will be immediately aware of who the contractors are, but we'll talk more about them here in just a moment. Should you need to check in a visitor, at DC3, log in at the front desk with your LDAP or the badge reader. It's sensitive to read your badge, which will auto-log you into the system. At DC1 and DC2, The same machine is now present, so you can use this exact same process. Add or find your visitor. If someone has never been here before, you'll have to capture some personal information from them, first name, last name, and a little bit more. The prompts will all be on the screen. If they've visited us before, any of our buildings, it is a shared database, so you should be able to pull them up without any trouble. If you are adding them to the system for the first time, be sure to take their picture with the webcam. We must have a photograph on every badge that we generate. If they need data center access, there's a checkbox marked DC Access. You can then create the barcode badge and be sure to log out of the system. If you're checking in a contractor, it's a little bit different. You'll have to go to the badge kiosk near the maintenance office. Now, this is generally going to be in the data center, but it does have the same login system. It just houses separate users. Scan your badge on the lockbox and pull out as many yellow badges as you need. If this one contractor comes in and he has an assistant with him, you would have to enter both of those people into the system and then grab 2 yellow badges. Include each contractor's information into the kiosk, including a picture of that contractor, and then assign the badges to the contractors on the kiosk and distribute those. There is a space where you have to key in the number of the badge. Visitor badges and yellow badges are a little bit different. By a little bit, I mean very. Visitor, no door access, can be given by anyone, and always has to have an escort with them. But a yellow badge, which we give to contractors, has limited door access, meaning they can scan that badge and open up certain doors throughout our buildings. Not every door, but certain doors. Contractors must be approved by supervisors, managers, executives, or the maintenance team. An escort badge, used to give employees access to the data center. It is for internal use only and must be issued by a supervisor or manager. This escort badge is typically given to one of our Linux support or occasionally Windows support or sales employees so that they can escort a colo customer out into the data center. As these employees no longer have standard access to the data center, this limited access badge must be very carefully handled and managed by their supervisor. What is allowed in the building? First up, no weapons, no guns whatsoever, no explosives, no knives over 3.5 inches long, no tasers or stun guns, and no chemicals intended to cause harm. Escorting visitors. Please, be heroic, answer their questions, be attentive and available, be honest, hand them tools. If they are working on something and they ask you a question about how Apache operates, you can tell them Apache normally does this or that, but you should also follow that up with, but if you are not one of our managed customers, I can't say for certain that that is how that operates. If they need a screwdriver, find them a screwdriver. These screwdrivers are typically located on the tool carts and can be very easily discovered and brought over. Do not leave that visitor unattended. Don't hover or loom over their shoulder, don't misrepresent Liquid Web, and do not, under any circumstances, allow them to install new external hardware without approval from the setups team. Even if there is available power drops and network drops, they are not to plug anything into the rack without written approval from the setups team. Now, in our buildings, there are a few restricted areas. Restricted areas are anywhere that you need a badge to access. Technically, yes, that means our buildings themselves are restricted areas, but within those buildings, there are certain portions that are doubly locked down, such as the data center. As I mentioned just a moment ago, our Linux support employees, our Windows support employees, our sales staff, and a few others do not, by default, have access to the data center. Within the data center, there are additional areas such as the setups cage, the Section 1 storage closet in DC3, the workbenches, and the electrical cages. Now these, they all house expensive materials or in some cases lots of raw stock. Please don't access those unless it is absolutely needed. Who can be where? Number 1, don't wander, walk with a purpose. Keep employee visitors to public spaces. It is okay to bring a friend or family member in and show them where you work, show them what you do. It is not okay to put that person on a tour that you have decided to run through the data center. Keep them to the break rooms. the lounge, conference rooms. You can keep customers in relevant areas, such as on their tour or on their way to and from their colo server. Additionally, some customers may have legitimate need of one of our conference rooms. This is most common with our enterprise customers or with a prospective client who may be bringing in a complex or significant amount of servers. Customer hardware. Setups must approve all new external hardware that would be installed on one of our racks. There must be available power and rack space, so even if there are open plugs, that does not necessarily mean that there will be available power. These should not break our terms of service. So, if they are plugging in a new peripheral, that peripheral cannot participate in port scanning. It cannot interfere with other customers. It cannot be a Wi-Fi device. And under no circumstances will we ever allow liquid cooling on any one of our racks. Locked cabinets. Throughout our data center, there are a number of locked cabinets. These most often contain HIPAA or PCI servers. These cabinets are to remain locked unless they are actively being worked on. Do not walk away from an unlocked cabinet. If you are walking through the data center and you find a cabinet that should be locked but is not, you should find a supervisor. You should ideally have an electronic device with you that will allow you to access Slack or, in some cases, simply email, but get a hold of someone that can come down and help keep an eye on this. Do not, under any circumstances, leave keys out and available. These keys are your responsibility. Unidentified personnel. Please escort them from the building. Ask them to leave. Offer to leave with them. Do not be confrontational during this process. They should not be left alone. And if possible, bring a friend. We would rather have strength in numbers. If you're in DC3, you can contact the front desk. That's where our security guard typically sits. The extension that rings the front desk directly is extension 2330. And always, always, always inform a supervisor. In fact, it is strongly recommended that you inform a supervisor before you ask that person to leave the building. This helps create a paper trail so that we can track who did what, who said what, and how we can best protect our staff going forward. Digital security. Strong passwords. Strong passwords are a necessity in our industry. We characterize strong passwords with the following criteria: 10 or more characters, with a combination of upper and lower case, including digits and punctuation characters. Strong passwords are generally not a word in any language, slang, or jargon, and they are not based on personal information. Please resist the urge to set a password that is your home address and your dog's first name. Strong passwords should not be written down. Our password policy: do not use a password for both work and personal accounts. Do not reuse the previous 2 passwords. And bear in mind that user-level passwords must be changed every 90 days. Now, a user-level password is a password that is unique to you. It is not used to access a shared resource, such as something that a software vendor has set up for us. Never, ever reveal your passwords. Do not reveal them on the phone, in an email, to your boss, even if they ask, in a form. Don't give them to family members. Don't give them to coworkers. Just don't do it. It's a bad plan. In fact, don't even hint about the password. And this is something that is not just for you. If a customer calls in and they are unable to authenticate their account, but they're so close, their password is just 1 character off, the only thing we are allowed to say is that their password was incorrect. Don't say you were close. Don't say that, oh, you're just 1 character away. Their password was just incorrect. In order to maintain PCI compliance and to avoid any potential fines, fees, or other legalese, don't make hints. Don't even talk about it. Receiving files. Do not open files from unknown sources, such as third-party sites, potential customers, or magically operating USB drives. If there's any concern about what a magically operating USB drive is, well, that is when you walk away from your desk, and when you come back, there is a USB drive that is just materialized out of thin air. Don't plug it into your system. Don't plug it into your personal system. You should probably hand that directly over to SecTeam or perhaps one of our friendly internal IT folks. Delete spam chain or other junk mail. Now, sometimes customers may have spec sheets that they would like to share with us. It is a tricky situation. We want to help those customers. But, for example, if they are in live chat with you and they say they would like to transfer a file that has all of the specs in it, it may feel a little spammy on the screen, but it is recommended to have them simply copy and paste that information directly in there. Do not open files from unknown sources. There are several dangerous extensions that are known to us. Never ever open the following: .exe, .bat, .sh, .jar, .py, or .pl. Each of these file extensions is known to contain, and this is not in every instance, but in many instances, they are known to contain potentially malicious code. Don't open it. Antivirus. Always run antivirus software. Always scan media from an unknown source for viruses before using it. And never download files from unknown or suspicious sources. If you need to update drivers, get the drivers directly from the publisher's website. If you need to update your operating system, a simple yum update for our Linux users should be sufficient. If you need to grab software that is experimental and only available from untrusted third-party vendors, talk to SecTeam, and I can guarantee that SecTeam will almost certainly say, not going to happen. Lastly, avoid direct disk sharing with read-write access. Don't give someone access to your workstation. Don't allow someone to log in on your workstation using your credentials, and don't share your drive with another user remotely. It is a bad plan. Certain things can be used to share files if it is absolutely necessary, such as Google Drive. That is a company-approved resource. But do not give direct disk access. Social media guidelines. No photos or videos in the data center. None, not even one. Limited photos or videos in the office. If you have something very interesting on your desk, maybe you want to take a picture of the lunch that the company's provided you, or you received a thank you letter from someone, you can take some limited photos or videos while you are in the office, but please, please take a hard look. Is there sensitive information in the picture? Are there passwords on sticky notes? The answer shows no, but are there passwords on sticky notes attached to your monitor? Are there funny things that may be potentially upsetting to other viewers? Please make sure that those are not in the photo. Marketing and the executive team can approve exceptions, not your supervisor, not a manager. This is marketing and the executives. Personal devices. Your personal devices, while welcome in the building, cannot connect to the wired network, but they can use the wireless network. So if you bring in your laptop or your tablet or your phone, those things can pick up the internal Wi-Fi marked Liquid Web. They cannot, under any circumstances, connect to the wired network. Don't do it. Remote access. Let's say something has happened, you're snowed in, there's 8 feet of snow and ice outside, and you can't make it into the office, and your manager or your supervisor said that you are approved to work from home. While you are doing this, whatever system you are using to connect to your work resources, do not allow anyone else to use that device. This device must meet all security requirements for an employee workstation. For example, in our office, we use the most current version of Windows or your choice of many different Linux operating systems, but they all must be on the most current version. That does not include your favorite desktop at home that is still running Windows XP. That cannot be used to perform remote work. This policy is detailed in our handbook and in the wiki. And that device may only be simultaneously connected to a private, fully controlled network. What that means is, let's say you are a Comcast subscriber. You can use Comcast as your ISP and VPN into Liquid Web. You cannot VPN to any other resource while you are connected and performing remote work for Liquid Web. Secure habits. Cardholder data security requirements. You cannot store credit card numbers, data from a magnetic strip. You cannot store the ID code or PIN numbers. Nowhere. Not even once. Only the billing team can directly handle credit card data. If you are not on the billing team, direct the customer to manage.liquidweb.com and pass that interaction to billing. Social engineering. Social engineering is the process of gaining access to information through conversation, asking questions, giving vague answers, and tricking the customer representative to provide them with the information they want. For example, someone calls in, you answer the phone, you want to be helpful. That person that has called says, hey, I just got this job and my boss needs me to update some things on the server. I know it is for this website, but I have not been given the account credentials. Please, you gotta help me. He's already really angry. Sometimes we want to help. This is one of those cases where we cannot. If that person on the phone cannot provide the account credentials, they cannot gain access. You can't tell them they're close. You can't tell them what email address that they should be looking at when they want to reset their password. Nothing. You give them nothing. Social engineering is a very real and pressing threat, not just for our industry, but for many, many industries. This can also be done in person. So, if someone shows up at the front door and they say they are here to work on their Colo server, bear in mind that you must follow normal Colo procedures and authenticate them. That includes getting their account password, or in some cases, the root or admin password for a particular server. Again, if that person who has now shown up on the property is unable to provide that information, they cannot work on that device. Furthermore, if they can't provide any of that information, they can't be on the property. Social engineering via phone, ticket, or chat. Offer to send an account information email to the email address we have on file. Let them know that they can reset their password online. We should not be resetting account passwords. Let them do it themselves. For business accounts, they can send us documents proving that they are the business owner or are an officer of the company. In some cases, a business may go through a change of ownership, change of proprietorship, or any number of other terms. This generally means that their site and their account is no longer under the previous owner's control. This does happen from time to time, and we do have a procedure for it, and it does start with, as it shows in the third bullet point, with the customer providing documentation that proves that they are the legitimate and legal owner of that account. Shoulder surfing. Another form of social engineering. Do not hang out with visitors at your desk. As I said earlier, you are welcome to bring visitors to the office. Sometimes it's pretty neat to show them the things that you do and show them the environment that you work in. But don't log in and work on the server. Don't leave sensitive data out on your desk. Even if you've known this person for a very long time, it is immaterial. They are not an employee of the company. They are not privy to the information of what we do on a specific daily basis. Don't leave out password sheets, for example. Dumpster diving. This is another common usage of social engineering. In order to prevent people from getting sensitive data by diving into the dumpster or checking our trash, make sure that sensitive paperwork goes through the shredder. Password sheets must be returned to a supervisor. If you find an unattended password sheet, make sure it gets to a super as soon as possible. If your password sheet has come up missing, make sure you tell a supervisor as soon as possible. If you would like more policy information, wiki.int.liquidweb.com or handbook.int.liquidweb.com. And in closing, thank you for making it through this presentation. If you are looking for information regarding our other locations, such as Amsterdam, Phoenix, Ann Arbor, or San Antonio, please be aware that we will be releasing separate materials for those locations at a later time. Any further questions, please feel free to get a hold of your supervisor, your manager, or training@liquidweb.com, and we'll be happy to answer those questions to the best of our ability. Thank you very much.